Understanding the genetic aspects of racing pigeons and breeding strategies for elite performance. The genetic aspects of racing pigeons, breeding strategies for elite performance. Introduction. Pigeon racing is a popular sport that involves selectively breeding and training pigeons to compete in timed races where they must navigate their way home over long distances. The speed and stamina required to excel in these competitions is the result of generations of selective breeding to produce elite racing pigeons with the genetic potential for outstanding performance. Understanding the genetic factors involved in racing ability is key for pigeon breeders seeking to optimize their breeding strategies. Research into the genetics of racing pigeons has identified various traits and genetic markers associated with elite performance. This knowledge allows breeders to make informed breeding decisions to target desired attributes in their birds. This article will provide an overview of the genetic aspects of racing pigeons that impact performance and discuss breeding strategies breeders use to maximize genetic potential in their lofts. Key areas covered include heritability of racing attributes, breeding values and estimated breeding values, selective breeding and crossbreeding strategies, breeding for physiological traits, role of genomics and genetic markers, inbreeding versus outcrossing, breeding goals and planning, heritability of racing attributes. Racing performance in pigeons has been shown to be a heritable trait, meaning that a significant percentage of the variation in abilities between individuals is due to genetic factors that can be passed down to offspring. Research has produced heritability estimates ranging from 0.20 to 0.50 for attributes such as racing speed, stamina, orientation, and homing ability. This level of heritability makes racing performance very amenable to improvement through selective breeding. By breeding from birds demonstrating elite racing attributes, some of their genetic propensity for these traits will be inherited by their young. Over generations, selecting the best racers each season as breeding stock leads to incremental improvements throughout the loft. However, performance is a complex polygenic trait influenced by many genes. Having elite racers in a pedigree is no guarantee of success. Breeders must carefully assess breeding values of individual birds based on race results across various distances and terrains. Breeding values and estimated breeding values. A pigeon's breeding value refers to its ability to pass on racing attributes to its offspring. This is measured by the average performance of its progeny compared to the population mean. Birds with high positive breeding values are those whose offspring consistently outperform average. However, directly calculating breeding values is difficult. A better measure is an estimated breeding value, EBV, calculated from a bird's own race results and those of close relatives like parents, siblings, and offspring. Computer models can analyze these records to predict the individual's genetic potential for passing traits to the next generation. EBVs provide more reliable information on breeding value than past race performance alone. An average racer producing elite offspring has higher breeding value than a champion racer with poor progeny. Breeding decisions based on both performance data and EBVs is key to effective selection. Selective breeding and crossbreeding strategies. Selective breeding involves mating your best racing pigeons together to enhance desired traits in offspring. Birds are selected as breeders based on racing performance, EBVs, and visible qualities indicating fitness and athleticism, allowing only the top 20% to breed tighten selection intensity over time. Inbreeding through mating of close relatives can rapidly amplify desired traits but must be balanced with outcrossing to maintain genetic diversity and avoid negative effects of inbreeding depression. Outcrossing introduces new traits through less related birds of a similar type. Crossbreeding incorporates races from divergent bloodlines, creating hybrid vigor in first-generation offspring. This expands the gene pool but may lose some uniformity. Triples bred from crosses aim to stabilize the blend. Ideal breeding programs balance line breeding, inbreeding, and strategic outcrossing. Breeding for physiological traits. In addition to race performance, breeders target physiological traits that support speed, stamina, and homing ability. These include efficient respiratory and cardiovascular function, high muscle ratio and power, skeletal integrity and wing conformation, lean body composition with low fat, good metabolic efficiency, strong immune function and disease resistance. Many anatomical features like heart size, lung capacity, muscle composition, and feather quality have genetic underpinnings. Selecting breeders with optimal physical characteristics along with proven race ability improves the chances of passing these traits to offspring. The role of genomics and genetic markers. Advances in genomics have allowed the identification of genetic markers associated with specific racing attributes. One marker may correlate to stamina, another to homing instinct, and so on. Testing pigeons for relevant markers provides added data to inform breeding decisions. Birds lacking key markers could be excluded despite a strong pedigree. Genetic screening also helps determine relatedness for strategic inbreeding or outcrossing. While a genetic test will never replace race results, incorporating genomic data on key markers further enhances the accuracy of EBVs and breeding potential estimates. This allows breeders to maximize genetic progress with each generation. Inbreeding versus outcrossing. Producing elite racers requires finding the right balance between inbreeding and outcrossing in a breeding program. Inbreeding through mating of closely related pigeons concentrates desired genetic traits and creates more uniformity in a family of birds. However, it also risks inbreeding depression due to the unmasking of detrimental recessive genes. Outcrossing through introduction of new bloodlines counters inbreeding depression and adds beneficial new traits. But outcrossing also dilutes the genetic pool and loses some of the concentrated vigor built through inbreeding. The most successful breeding plans use moderate inbreeding complemented by periodic strategic outcrossing. Maintaining detailed pedigree records helps determine optimal levels of inbreeding to enhance positive traits while avoiding negative impacts. Genetic screening aids in monitoring inbreeding coefficients and comparing diversity between potential mates. Define breeding goals and planning. A consistent, organized breeding strategy is key to developing an elite flock of pigeons. Successful breeders establish clearly defined breeding goals based on racing attributes they aim to optimize, then make intentional mating decisions to reach those goals. Creating a written breeding plan, tracking matings and offspring performance data, and updating the plan annually based on results allows breeders to learn from experience and make incremental progress each season. Having a multi-year vision and a stepped process to get there keeps the breeding program on track. Continuously upgrading housing, nutrition and training/handling methods parallel to breeding efforts also boosts the full genetic potential of each generation. Careful planning and records combined with patience and persistence is required to mold genetics and environment for racing success. Conclusion. The genetics of racing pigeons presents both complexity and opportunity. A keen understanding of heritability, breeding values, physiological traits, and genetic principles allows pigeon breeders to make informed breeding decisions that gradually enhance the athletic prowess built into each generation. Balancing line breeding and strategic outcrossing, aided by genomic markers and breeding value estimation, provides the best path to temper desired traits while maintaining health and vitality. Consistent breeding goals, multi-generational planning, and parallel improvements in loft management and training completes the puzzle. There is satisfying reward in breeding a champion as the culmination of years of dedicated work. The science and the art of genetics tilts the odds of success in favor of breeders willing to become students of racing pigeon genetics. Identifying and mating birds with the right combination of genetic gifts remains the key to breeding an elite squadron of racing pigeons poised for podium finishes. There are many reasons to buy my racing pigeon method. Here are some of the best reasons. You will get excellent results. It's a very simple system to use. It's affordable. I have had over 400 first prize winners. It's adaptable to any situation. You can use it with any racing method, natural, widowhood, young birds. It's a very effective method. There is no need to spend a lot of money on fancy pigeon products. It's a reliable system and it is foolproof to use. Professional athletes, race horses, take the same products. There is science behind this, not just hearsay. It is all to do with red blood cells and oxygen in the blood. Without that, a pigeon will not race well, or an athlete will not win a race. If he has low oxygen in his blood, the above is fact and is 100% science. There are a few things you can do to improve your chances of winning at racing pigeons. One of the most important things is to learn as much as you can about the sport. You'll need to know the different types of pigeons, how to train them, and how to race them. Another key factor is practice. You'll need to be able to fly your pigeons competently in order to win races. And, of course, you'll need to have the funds to invest in racing pigeons and other racing equipment.